Do you understand that you have not had a mayor like me? I get that. I have a wife, I have children, they have schedules. And plus, we still have public safety that we have to address. We still have the unhoused that we have to address. I still have a budget that I have to address. And I'm doing all of that with a black wife raising 3 black children on the west side of the city of Chicago.
That's the mayor of Chicago. Let's go, Brandon Johnson. He's got a black wife, not a white or an Asian wife or a Latino wife, and 3 black children, which is how that works, on the west side of Chicago, and he's raising them. And what's he supposed to... Come on, he's a busy guy. Can't be doing stuff. Go to the border. Somebody asked him if he's going to go to the border. Turns out he's got a black wife and 3 black children, so he can't go to the border. This is what it's like as Democrats ruin the world. But at least Joe Biden and the mayor of New York, Eric Adams, have diverse people around them. There's a diverse crowd. Things are going horribly. Their performances do not speak well to diversity. No one will say that out loud. Well, I just did, but, most people won't say that out loud. There was the Democrats and race, honestly. Jefferson Davis to let's go Brandon Johnson. Just amazing. What a political party they are. Now, there's a fun, have you seen the internet? This internet has got a lot of great things on it. There's this wonderful guy in Chicago, Illinois. He's in Chicago. And he was on the television this morning on the Fox News channel. He was in the 5 a.m. hour, And I was watching for you in the 5 a.m. hour. And his name is Quentin Jordan. Quentin Jordan is vice president of the Black Conservative Federation. And he's a Chicago guy, and he's, a normal person. He thinks for himself, and he's not a glassy-eyed zombie. And he did some fun stuff. He went out in Chicago to the south side, he said. South side of Chicago, which is largely African-American. And he did man-on-the-street interviews with African-American men and women on the south side of Chicago and asked them about Joe Biden or Donald Trump. Donald Trump or Joe Biden. And had some fun responses from the POC, as the Democrats like to abbreviate everything, people of color on the SOC, the streets of Chicago, naturally, the streets of Chicago. So here is Quentin Jordan, Vice President, Black Conservative Federation, talking to voters on the south side of Chicago who are also African American.
Who do you think is better for the country, Trump or Biden?
Trump.
I say Trump.
Why do you say that?
He's a businessman. He's going to think business. And Biden is a racist.
No wars, great policies, best years in the stock market. Who do you think has done more for the black community, Trump or Biden?
I didn't even see Biden yet. I know Trump was out here.
Biden, that's everything.
Biden ain't doing We're going to get rid of his sweet
There, some were speaking freely about their opinion. There were a couple of words that had to be deleted because they were expletives. And they it seems that people feel strongly about this too. And honestly, who could think that you're better off today under Joe Biden? Honestly, nobody for president would be better than this. And then Quentin Jordan went on the Fox News channel this morning. And he posted those, his organization posted them online, and they're a lot of fun. And Quentin Jordan on the Fox News channel he was on, I have my notes right here, 5:17 a.m., Vice President of Black Conservative Federation. Uh-oh.
The videos are as clear as we can make them. We spent about an entire day going across different communities on the south side of Chicago, and the resounding response that we received is that Black Americans are fed up with Joe Biden and the Democratic Party. They feel as if the campaign made a lot of promises that they didn't hold up to. They feel used for their votes. And there's a large shift that we're seeing across Black America, across the country, where they're leaning more towards Donald Trump and Republicans, and the Democratic Party is falling far behind.
Well, that would be welcome news. I certainly hope that's true. And honestly, the public school system raises people on a lie, on a number of lies. And one of the big lies that they tell is that the Democrat Party is your friend if you're black. And boy, nothing has been less true than that. That is a lie so big that no one would dare not believe it, just like Gurgle would tell you. Amazing. And I certainly hope that Quentin seems like he knows what he's talking about. He's out there talking to people. He's a Chicago guy, and he's not full of hooey. Not full of hooey. That's polite talk. Quentin Jordan.
One of the things that's playing in Donald Trump's favor is that Black Americans are starting to become more involved in conversations that they typically would not have been. So Donald Trump is starting to sound like he was right on a lot of topics. The migrant crisis is one that is a clear example. Black and brown communities are being disproportionately affected as illegal migrants are being pushed into their communities. They're being given resources that Black Americans have been fighting for decades, and the Democratic Party doesn't seem to have an answer for it. And the Black community just feels as if, again, they've been lied to, they've been used for their votes. And it's obvious that the resources have been there because they're being given away to people who don't even pay taxes.
Because the resources are being given away to people that don't even pay taxes. And we see in New York, Eric Adams, who's a lot of chocolate in the room, and he's very proud. Never mind that the city's in shambles. It's a rolling crime wave. It's a hellhole, and people that work there can't wait to get out of the city at the end of the day, and hopefully can get out before the sun goes down because it's so dangerous. And they wreck places and say, at least we're diverse. That's not really the goal here. But hey, who am I? Who am I to? I check every box on that Baltimore Johns Hopkins, the privilege lists, right? Yeah. Yep. Amazing. Now, I also shared with you the other day a young man, 21 years old, running for the State House, state representative in Georgia, and his name is C.J. Pearson. C.J. Pearson, he's African American. This is a sin that I commit all the time. He's black, and he is 21 years old, and his name is C.J. Pearson, and he's running for state representative in Georgia.
You go to a black barbershop, you hear it. You go to a black church, you hear it. The black community is looking for a new solution. That solution is Donald J. Trump.
That solution is Donald J. Trump. And I got to tell you the thing that my favorite line of C.J. Pearson the other day that ought to be a bumper sticker or a T-shirt. And here it is, C.J. Pearson saying, the Democrat Party has got some splaining to do.
I've said it once, I'll say it again. The Democrat Party destroyed the black community. It's time for the black community to destroy the Democrat Party, and we intend to do that.
And we intend to do that. Isn't that great? Yes, it is. I also played for you this clip that MSNBC aired probably once and never again because they sent, naturally, a black correspondent out to a black barber shop because, there's that series of movies, the barbershop movies, and they saw that on cable. So they said, hey, I know, let the blacks, they go to barbershops, and let's go there and talk to the blacks in the barbershop. And a group of African-American men sitting in the barber chairs, and of course, one black reporter that they sent because the white reporter is too afraid to go to a black barbershop at NBC News, talking to the nice people there about Trump or Biden.
There's some people in your orbit who are either voting for Donald Trump or considering it?
For sure. A lot of my friends are obviously my age, so we're a little younger. We've only voted once, for a president. And Trump is kind of all we know. And they're kind of Trump and Biden. They're like, well, we were broke with Biden. We weren't with Trump. And that's kind of the only thing that I'm hearing over and over again, is that, well, Trump, we had money.
Yeah, with Trump, we had money. Broke with Biden, not with Trump. That's, that matters. That matters. And Stop accepting the lie. The lie is so big. I am telling you. Hey, it's mailbag day. It's mailbag day. And while I still have 2 hours of content here and like 40 minutes to do it, let me get to the mailbag because they give me too much stuff. I've got the Nevada results yesterday and this bill and Capitol Hill, some things on Capitol Hill yesterday that were pretty ridiculous that I'll share with you. But right now, the mailbag. Florida Gulf Beach fan asks the question. I like the Florida Gulf Coast too, from Naples to the Panhandle. I do. Florida Gulf Beach fan asks, you've traveled to so many countries. Which two do you think have the best food? Are there any favorite cities in the U.S. that you love just for the cuisine? For the food. Well, let me say, this is not a very tough one with the countries. I love the country of Greece. I love Greek food. I love Mediterranean food generally, but most people do. But Greece and Greek food, definitely on my short list. I love, and there's good Greek food in D.C. that my best girl and I go out and get, and with friends as well. But Greece, I think, would probably be my number one answer. Italy is almost too easy, but Italy certainly, because I could eat Italian food all day, every day for the rest of my life and become big fat Jake LaMotta, And Greek food I could eat every day for the rest of my life too. And then there's this. This is a little bit random, but Japan and Japanese food. I am crazy for Japanese food. And in Japan, I still had one very memorable night at Nobu in Tokyo on an expense account for about 6 hours. And I never even saw the bill. Somebody else had the expense account. But boy, Nobu. And I just love Japanese food. I love pretty much everything about Japanese food, from miso soup and sake to. But Greek food, start me off with a horiyatiki salad and everything. The lamb, the fish. Honestly, even the gyros. I love the gyros too. Everything's right. And in Italy has all the best food in the world. They got everything. The meats, the fish. They have the sea. They have they do everything right in Italy. And pasta. We had pasta last night at home. And Italian sausage. Come on, that's what we had last night. Stayed at home, had a big tub of spaghetti and garlic bread, and it was delish. It was actually fettuccine, but who's scoring? And that was great. Any favorite cities in the U.S. you love just for the cuisine? I don't know about just for the cuisine, but like some people might say New Orleans. I would never say that. I got to say, Washington, D.C. has great restaurants all over the place, incredible restaurants all over the place. And from all over the world, food from all over the world, and I like that a lot.
Hey, Mark.
Mike.
Is that you?
Yeah, hi. You come here?
Yeah, I come for the strudel. It's great.
Yeah, I love the strudel. It's, There he is. Guy Savoy. And since it's Savoy, it might be Guy Savoy. I'll go with Guy Savoy and Guy Savoy. How do you stay sane while in this current political climate? Any tips besides drinking? And Michael and I were going over this earlier. Nope. Besides drinking? Nope. No, I'm kidding. Drinking is not the solution, of course. But how do you stay sane? And it's kind of funny. I'm asked this question, maybe not frequently, but occasionally. And, drinking is good. Hillary Clinton, she tried alternate nostril breathing. Remember that? That didn't work for her. But drinking helps a little. And I got to say, there are a couple of things. I don't take any of it personally. And I look at everything in the context of the sweep of history and what my grandparents went through, what my parents went through, what we're going through, some of the things that I've witnessed in my lifetime. And, it goes up and down. It goes up and down. And right now we're in a down cycle. There is no doubt about that. America's in a down cycle, a big-time down cycle, worse than when Jimmy Carter was president, worse than Well, 1968 had a lot of complications with Martin Luther King and Bobby Kennedy being assassinated in the Vietnam War and all that. But I tried to look at everything in the context of the broad sweep of history. And I'm very good at not taking anything personally. And those are actually my tips besides drinking, maybe in addition to drinking. Alternate nostril breathing does not work. And so, how do you stay sane? And I understand it's a good question, Guy Savoy. And a lot of people have this discussion. And here's another thing. You got to turn it off. You got to turn it off. You can't, obviously, 3 hours a day, you have to be here. But you have to turn it off at some point and just spend time with normal people talking about other things and not being political about everything all the time. The truth is, when I'm not doing what I do for a living, I'm not looking for political discussions. I talk about all kinds of things that have nothing to do with politics and news of the day. I still have more mailbag questions coming up because I talk too much, but I've got a couple more coming up.
Alternate nostril breathing.
Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Visit chrisplantcruise.com. All right, I have too much to get to and too little time, but the mailbag questions from J.M. Turney. I wonder if he's an attorney. What do you think, Turney? A. Turney. J.M. Turney, if you had your druthers, what job do you think you would be best suited for in a second Donald J. Trump administration? I think, look, Kamala Harris can be vice president. She can't even pronounce her own name. I think I could be vice president. I'm not an attorney like Mr. Turney, but I think we need an attorney general that would come in and clean house in a big way. And while, I'm a city college guy, I think I'd make an excellent attorney general at this moment in history. And I could clean that up. Now, really the best job in any administration is probably Secretary of State. And I'd be better than Anthony Blinken as Secretary of State. I honestly think I spent 10 years as a news guy at the Pentagon, and I'd be a better Secretary of Defense than Joe Biden has now. Seems like a perfectly nice man, but not looking good as Secretary of Defense. I think I'd be good at a lot of these jobs. I know you're thinking press secretary. I don't think I'd want to be press secretary. That'd be fun for about a minute, maybe for one briefing, but that's about it. I'd like to go take over the Justice Department and clean house and maybe dismantle the FBI. Now, Tucker Carlson is in Russia, and he has now interviewed Vlad the Impaler Putin. This is causing all kinds of upheaval with the Democrat media, the fake and corrupt media. And I want to share this with you in just a moment because Tucker Carlson's under attack by a hypocritical clown car of an American media, and they need to be called on it, so I'll do that. Now, I do have one last mailbag question, and it's a tough one. I mentioned earlier, it's one I couldn't really answer. Kevin Neffel says, Chris, if the Republicans got a large enough majority to amend the Constitution, what amendments would you want to amend? And that is a fun question. Now, the reality is, in order to amend the Constitution, it takes much more than the presidency and a majority in the House and a majority in the Senate, because it's an Article 5 issue in the Constitution. To amend the Constitution, 38 states, the state legislatures have to ratify any amendment that is proposed to the Constitution, according to Article 5 of the Constitution. And honestly, I'm in favor of a convention of the states, like Mark Levin has been calling for quite some time, the great Mark Levin. And I think we should, it's a good idea to take a look at what we've done to ourselves and what we could do to make matters better. And a convention of the states is, I believe, the correct way to do that. The Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments to the Constitution or on the application of the legislatures of 2/3 of the several states, shall call a convention for proposing amendments, which in either case shall be valid to all intents and purposes as a part of the Constitution, when ratified by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states, now 50 states, or by the conventions in 3/4 thereof, and the one or the other mode of ratification may be proposed by the Congress. So I'm in favor of a convention of the states, and I'm not eager to modify or amend the Constitution, but I'm open to discussion, and I'd be happy to discuss it all. And a convention of the states, I think, would be a good idea. Now, with that said, let's get a little bit of Tucker Carlson, who posted a video about his what was then his upcoming interview with Vladimir Putin, which is causing the left-wing radical liars in the fake, corrupt American news media to lie, and they're having palpitations.
We're in Moscow tonight. We're here to interview the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin. We'll be doing that soon. There are risks to conducting an interview like this, obviously. So we thought about it carefully over many months. Here's why we're doing it. First, because it's our job. We're in journalism.
That's right.
Our duty is to inform people. 2 years into a war that's reshaping the entire world, most Americans are not informed. They have no real idea what's happening in this region, here in Russia or 600 miles away in Ukraine. But they should know. They're paying for much of it in ways they might not fully yet perceive.
All of it.
The war in Ukraine is a human disaster. It's left hundreds of thousands of people dead, an entire generation of young Ukrainians, and it's depopulated the largest country in Europe. But the long-term effects are even more profound. This war has utterly reshaped the global military and trade alliances, and the sanctions that followed have as well. And in total, they have upended the world economy. The post-World War II economic order, the system that guaranteed prosperity in the West for more than 80 years, is coming apart very fast.
Yes, it is. And a big part of that is the Democrat Party here in the United States. Now, the Associated Press reports this morning, Russia says former Fox News host Tucker Carlson has interviewed Putin. And the Democrats, pretending to be journalists, are opposed to this, so many of them. The Kremlin confirms that Russian President Vladimir Putin has been interviewed by former Fox News host Tucker Carlson. And ABC News is reproducing the Associated Press piece. And Russian President Vladimir Putin has been interviewed by former Fox News host Tucker Carlson. And they're acting like this is a bad thing. The Kremlin confirmed Wednesday it is Putin's first interview with a Western media figure since his full-scale invasion of Ukraine 2 years ago. And we're being asked for another $60 billion by the left-wing radicals driving our country into the side of a mountain, and no questions asked, with nobody tracking where the money goes, how it's spent, whether they're buying yachts and houses in Malta. But never mind that. Carlson has released a video from Moscow. He did that on Tuesday. I just played you a clip from that, in which he said he would be interviewing Putin. Carlson claimed that Western journalists had interviewed Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky multiple times. That's understatement. But could not be bothered to interview the Russian president. That's true. The interview will be posted on Thursday. That's tomorrow, according to Justin Wells, head of programming at Tucker Carlson streaming network. It is not known what was said in the interview. Well, you'll just have to watch, won't you? So Putin has heavily limited his contact with international media since he launched the war in Ukraine, not under President Trump, but he waited for Joe Biden. In February of 2022, Russian authorities have cracked down on media. That's because Putin's a commie, a lefty. They don't have to crack down on media here, although they'd like to. Forcing some independent Russian outlets to close, blocking others, and ordering a number of foreign reporters to leave the country. Now, and he's a commie. 2 journalists working for U.S. news organizations, the Wall Street Journal's Evan Gershkovich and Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty's Alsu Kuramesheva, are in jail on charges that they say aren't true, of course, because Putin's a commie. They're telling the truth and Putin is lying, right? So the news media and the idiots on MSDNC and CNN are very upset, like Tucker Carlson's doing something wrong. And also he's being fact-checked by these idiots in the American news media. Oh, Tucker Carlson got something wrong.
At the same time, our politicians and media outlets have been doing this, promoting a foreign leader like he's a new consumer brand. Not a single Western journalist has bothered to interview the president of the other country involved in this conflict, Vladimir Putin.
Which you think might be an important thing. I recall before the, even the 1991 Persian Gulf War, all the media outlets clamoring to get the first interview with Saddam Hussein and to get the last interview before the invasion with Saddam Hussein, and after the invasion to get an interview with Saddam Hussein before he was found in the spider hole and all of that stuff. I recall my friend Peter Arnett and his producer Peter Bergen interviewing Osama bin Laden in a cave in Afghanistan, and it was a big score, big deal. And ABC News sent their guy John Miller to interview Osama bin Laden, the guy who embarrassed the CNN anchors just the other day. That's what journalists do, as Tucker Carlson said. And the Independent in the United Kingdom and others going after Tucker Carlson. Kremlin corrects Tucker Carlson's claim that no Western media had tried to interview Putin. What an absurd headline. And I laugh. I laugh at this. It ought to be embarrassing to these people, but they are unembarrassable, I think. And they corrected him because he said no other Western media tried to interview you. And Dmitry Peskov, who's Putin's spokesman, said, "Oh no, that is not true, comrade." And Tucker's being called a Putin stooge and a Russian collaborator and a traitor. Now, we're going to have to round up a lot of journalists for interviewing the heads of countries, in some cases that we are actively at war with. This is a proxy war for us. Iran is our proxy, Ukraine is our proxy. So many Iranian proxies these days. Ukraine is our proxy in fighting this war with Russia. And as Tucker Carlson said, hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians have died. Hundreds of thousands of Russians have died. We're on our way to 1 million dead in this war in 2 years. And our news media is not covering the war. They're just, along with the rest of the Democrats, demanding tens of billions of dollars to fund the war. Joe Biden lifted sanctions on selling Russian oil in order to help fund the Putin side of the war, so we're funding both sides of the war. We're funding both sides of the war with Israel and Hamas, and in this new so-called border bill, which isn't a border bill, there's more money for Hamas in there, on the order of billions of dollars. Oh, but it's all for humanity, just for sandwiches. It's not for sandwiches, all right? But the news media here, I've got to say, Christian Amanpour did step up and say, well, you know, he's a reporter. He's supposed to be interviewing world leaders because that's what reporters do, right? But never mind that. And he's under attack for conducting an interview. The interview will be fascinating. There will be good questions. It was a little bit risky going in there to interview him, but probably not enormously risky. And I just gotta tell you, our news media is a disgrace. The idea that it's bad for him to interview Vladimir Putin right now when we're being asked for another $60.3 billion, plus billions in humanitarian relief for Ukraine. The Politico left-wing blog site, Tucker Carlson faces media fury over Putin interview. Why? Why would that be? That doesn't make any sense. And they are attacking Tucker Carlson for talking to a newsmaker at a critical time. And these idiots are attacking him with, the Kremlin has slapped down a claim by far-right influencer Tucker Carlson. He's not far-right and he's not an influencer, but that's okay. That's the lead sentence. These lying sacks of Jewia. That no Western journalists have tried to interview Russian President Vladimir Putin about his invasion of Ukraine. And Dmitry Peskov says, oh no, we have many requests. Mr. Carlson is not correct. In fact, there is no way he could know this, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said on Wednesday. Mr. Peskov went on to say the Kremlin receives numerous requests for interviews from Western media, which are all denied because Kremlin does not deem the media outlets impartial. His position is different than others. It is pro-American, they say, speaking of Tucker Carlson. But at least it contrasts with the position of the traditional Anglo-Saxon media, Dmitry Peskov said. The Anglo-Saxon media, I love they're living in the 11th century, these people. Just amazing. Christian Amanpour says, does Tucker Carlson think we journalists haven't been trying to interview President Putin every day since his full-scale invasion of Ukraine? It's absurd. We continue to ask for an interview, just as we have for years now. Well, good for Christian Amanpour. Now, why it comes off as taking a shot at Tucker Carlson for getting what they wanted, perhaps that explains it. Man, oh man, oh man. You know, that's the role of journalists, is to talk to newsmakers and let the world know. That's the whole point of a free and fair press, which we really don't have in the United States anymore, I'm sorry to say. Now, let's go to number 14, Mike Lee, and good for Tucker Carlson. High five across the Atlantic Ocean for Tucker Carlson doing exactly what he's supposed to do. Senator Mike Lee, Utah, was on Laura Ingraham last night talking about this ridiculous non-border bill that's not a border bill at all, that mercifully for all of us died, at least for now. But the Lizard King is attacking and Joe Biden is attacking.
This thing is going to die. It's going to die not because Republicans are petulant and they don't want to solve the border. It's going to die because, number one, we know that Joe Biden created this border crisis. That's why we have this humanitarian disaster unfolding on our southern border. It is not for want of adequate legislative authority that this happened. It is because Joe Biden has defiantly, willfully refused to enforce the border.
Yeah, that's pretty straight up obvious. And Joe Biden is saying, oh, it's Trump's fault. And the MAGA Republicans, tens of millions of people. The biggest lie ever told by any liar in the history of liars, Senator Mike Lee.
Now, I know that he and all of his little friends in both parties wanted this to be a namaste moment and everybody would just bow and hug.
That's funny.
And support their bill, thinking that we wouldn't read it. But we read it, and what we found was quite discouraging. What we found was consistent with concerns we had over time, because this was negotiated over a 3 or 4 month period. For reasons I can't fathom, people negotiating for us as Senate Republicans refused to share details with us of the legislation. We couldn't see text. We didn't see text.
Couldn't see text, didn't see text. Isn't that amazing? Mike Lee, you know, and this is a good shot, the law firm of Schumer and McConnell.
The law firm of Schumer and McConnell has learned over time that if it can negotiate a bill in secret and keep the peasants, by that I mean other senators, from seeing it until the last possible minute, they can pass it, especially if they move it forward just days or even hours before some artificially contrived deadline that they themselves have arranged, that sometimes they can trick members into passing it.
That's exactly right. Mike Lee is telling the truth. Good for him. We need truth tellers. And the impeachment. I don't think I have time to get to the impeachment that has not happened yet of Alejandro Mayorkas, Secretary of Department of Homeland Security. But it's true. You know why this is called a border bill. That's a lie. That's lie number one. 60 billion, 60.3 billion. That 0.3 billion is $300 million. And it's a rounding error that falls off the side of the table. We live in extraordinary times. It's good that this travesty is dead for now. Now let's have a bill where we talk about securing our border and shut up about everything else. How about that? Now, Newsweek magazine has an exclusive today. Tucker Carlson could face sanctions over Putin interview. Western civilization is teetering on the brink of the abyss. Tucker Carlson's interview with Russian President Vladimir Putin could see the conservative pundit targeted by European Union lawmakers. Current and former members of the European Parliament have told Newsweek. Carlson visited Russia this week and said he would soon be releasing an interview with the Russian president, and radical left-wing Europeans who we should have left to the Nazis or the Soviets are threatening Tucker Carlson with travel bans and other sanctions. Joe Scarborough on MSDNC was also calling Tucker Carlson all kinds of names and accusing him of terrible things for doing what Christian Amanpour has been trying to do. And Joe Scarborough says, yeah, reporters go over there to interview Putin and they end up in gulags, kind of implying that Tucker Carlson should end up in a gulag. Evan Gershkovich of the Wall Street Journal wasn't there to interview Putin at all. He was there to cover Russia for the Wall Street Journal, and he is in a gulag.